All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's almost like a prophecy at this point. Every time we talk about these video games, it gets to a point where, maybe 8 out of time, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Let's be a little reserved and say 8 out of 10 times we end up being, for the most part, correct about what we can see coming, the writing on the wall for some projects. And Star Wars Outlaws was one of those projects. We can all see, based on the quality of the game, the choices that they decided to make, and the message they were trying to push with this particular video game, that it was not going to do very well. Now, obviously, it was going to sell some copies, because I feel like it's almost impossible for a Star Wars IP not to at least sell something. But when you start comparing into other video games, you realize just how much of a massive failure Star Wars Outlaws actually is.
That's bad. That's bad. That's bad. That's bad.
Now, we have an article from That Park Place with a headline that reads, "Rumor Star Wars Outlaws only sold 1 million copies to date." Now, I want you guys to keep a couple of things in mind, right, when it comes to Star Wars Outlaws. The budget for Star Wars Outlaws is massive because obviously licensing is a thing, and they would have to pay a nice chunk of change to even be able to utilize the Star Wars brand name to begin with, to make a video game from it. So that's number one. And number two, it's an open world Ubisoft RPG. Those usually do not come cheap, no matter how much of a copy and paste it usually tends to be. It's not a repeat of a previous franchise, so they did have to make a lot more new stuff and design a lot more new things when making this video game. They couldn't just copy and paste from previous Assassin's Creeds, for example, or whatnot, when making a new one. So it definitely costs more money than their other titles. And combined with the fact that they only sold about 1 million copies so far, yeah, that's not looking really good. So let's get into this article, guys, from That Park Place. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So it says a new rumor claims that Ubisoft only sold 1 million copies total for Star Wars Outlaws, which is far lower than analysts' expectations of around 5 million copies. Now, when you look at these numbers, 1 million to 5 million, you got to imagine this is probably why they started to panic a little bit, right? When the numbers start to hit and the press has not been good, 1 million instead of 5 million, that is a massive failure compared to what you thought it was going to be. And you have to make up new plans, right? This is why they're delaying Assassin's Creed Shadows. This is why they tried to put out this post on Twitter promising to fix Star Wars Outlaws, because it's a broken piece of shit like every other Ubisoft game. It starts to become very obvious what's happening here. This rumor comes from Grant Taylor Hill at Insider Gaming, who reports, "We have secured a current sales figure from sources close to the game. At the time of writing, Star Wars Outlaws has just ticked over 1 million sales worldwide. As noted by Hill, Assassin's Creed Mirage reportedly sold 5 million copies after 3 months." Now, I'll raise you one even better. Okay, I'll raise you one even better. Assassin's Creed Mirage sold 5 million copies after 3 months. Star Wars Outlaws sells 1 million after 1 month. Black Myth Wukong sells sells 10 million copies in like a week, less than a week. I think it was like 4 days. Okay, think about that really quick. There is a big difference between the games that gamers actually want and the games that pretty much almost nobody wants, except for hardcore Ubisoft fans that'll buy anything and hardcore Star Wars fans that'll buy anything. Once you start, looking and seeing who actually bought Star Wars Outlaws, you'll realize that, yeah, it's not really a lot of major gamers. Again, I don't understand anybody who's in the gaming scene and buys a Ubisoft title day one, knowing that in 30 days, the game's going to be 75% off. I don't know why you would do that. I have no idea. Maybe there's some different regulations since it's a Star Wars game. Maybe they won't discount it as hard or as fast, but Ubisoft games are notorious for going on massive sales 30 days after the initial release. So I would never pay full price for a Ubisoft game because it's stupid. I don't have to play that game that quickly. Again, so let's continue. This appears to be even worse than initial reports. Games industry writer Christopher Dring noted that according to the UK sales chart, that Star Wars Outlaws had done about half of Assassin's Creed Mirage. And keep in mind, guys, too, even at an average of about $70 per game, right? What is that looking like? $70 million in sales, 69 something million dollars in sales. they don't get all that money, right? They got to split that money with the multiple different storefronts that are selling their games, whether it's retail or digital. So they don't keep all that money. They probably keep around maybe 60%, 70% of that money. So when you really look down on it, it's not looking very good. They're going to struggle to get to their budget because, again, like I said earlier in the video, they're going to put this game on sale at some point pretty soon. It's just Ubisoft practice. So you struck while it was hot in that first month, and you got your money, but now you're going to start trickling down, very slowly, little by little, the game being on sale for maybe $15, $19.99, whatever the case may be. And yeah, you might get more sales, you might sell more units, but your profit's going to be way down. So it's going to be really hard to drag yourself to that budget, which is much higher than what they're currently making right now. It is also clearly significantly lower than what the market analysts were expecting. Barclays' Nick Dempsey suggested that Ubisoft would sell around 5 million units back during the company's Q1 2024 sales report in May. And he thought that number was conservative, given Ubisoft's bullishness on the game, despite multiple warning flags that the game was in trouble. Dempsey asked, when I look for guidance for Q2, and if I assume something similar for back catalog in Q2 and Q1, kind of getting to 200 and 230 million, that sort of range, for the new release, Star Wars Outlaws, when I look at the $70 price tag, and then assuming what you might get from it, I'm getting to around 5 million units, something that is in that sort of bracket. First of all, where could I be going wrong with that thinking? Secondly, are you just being pretty conservative in your guidance? Because I guess given the interest in that game, we might have thought it would be more than 5 million units. Again, guys, this is so off. It's so far off. And you know what it is? Analysts, they're great, right? Analysts are great for crunching numbers and whatnot. But the analysts don't understand the culture of the space of which they're analyzing, right? And culture plays a big, big part in gaming overall, and culture will drive sales or culture will kill sales. And unfortunately for them, they don't understand that right now the culture is extremely bad because they are not liking the direction that a lot of these video games are going. And the companies that are making these video games are doubling down, trying to pretend to be the gods of the gaming industry, and they are not listening to what gamers are asking and saying. Now, as much as they might not like what they are saying, at the end of the day, criticism is still criticism, and it's coming from some place. Perhaps you should listen to it, even if it might come off a little bit angry sometimes, and even if it might even come off a little bit toxic sometimes. There is still some criticism there for you to listen to, and by burying your heads in the sands, all you're doing is guaranteeing that you are going to flop. That is it. You are going to massively flop, and you can't call it anything other than that, because to sell 1 million units when the forecast was 5, that's pretty fucking terrible in my opinion. Then it says this extremely low number makes sense given Ubisoft's recent press release significantly lowering its expected net bookings for the second quarter, down from 500 million to 350 to 370 million. Now, I reported on this before, and when I spoke about this, I said that this is the primary reason why I believe Assassin's Creed Shadows is being delayed until 2025. This is the reason why, because they cannot take 2 L's in a row. They did actually 3 L's. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting about Skull and Bones. That's how bad that fucking game is. I keep forgetting it even exists, but they can't take 3 L's in a row in a year. They have to make it look like they're doing something positive for the industry. They have to, because if they don't, it's going to look really bad to their investors and shareholders, and things are just going to get ugly, right? Things are already ugly. Their stock price is drastically plummeting. It's insane. I've never seen a AAA studio stock price go down this fast, this quickly. So they need to figure out something. Ubisoft is actually, and this is not facetious, this is not hyperbole, like they are actually on the brink of collapse. This company is actually very close to just self-imploding. So if they don't figure out something quick, we're going to see the death of Ubisoft within the next couple of years. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.